everybody. It's Donald Clark again. I really pray that the audio is good. It was good on the check, so let's hope it's good now. And so back to where we were. We're talking about blood deficiency, and it's so important in our journey in fertility, men and women, to have a healthy blood supply. And when I mean blood supply, I mean the health of the blood itself, not the amount of blood. And one of the most common things that we see in fertility is a blood deficiency in women. It's very common for everybody, especially if you have a menstruation monthly, and so you're losing blood, and so it's so important to build that blood back up. And hello, Christy, how are you? Or Miss Key, sorry, hello. And it's so important to build that blood back up. And blood deficiencies are it's like everyone has a blood deficiency, right? To what extent it is depends on the person and the complexity of it. And so there's a couple reasons why we have blood deficiencies. The most common reason we have a blood deficiency is menstruation, right? Women that have heavy menstrual flows generally lead towards a blood deficient condition overall. And so you're losing a lot of blood, and if you're losing it, every month you're losing a lot of blood, and sometimes menses can go on longer than desired, and so you really have lost a lot of blood. And another condition is malabsorption, right? So if you have any kind of a gluten intolerance, and you're going to have a lot of inflammation in the stomach. And if you have a lot of inflammation in the stomach, you can't absorb the nutrition like you could otherwise. And so if you have any kind of an inflammation problem or autoimmune inflammation issue, it's usually affecting your absorption rates and your absorption levels in your gut. And that can lead to blood deficiency, a bleed, right? Ulcers, a bleed, or a bleed in another part of the body can lead to a blood deficiency. And genetics, don't forget about genetics. It's also, it can also be a genetic, a trait that we are inherited or passed down to our children, is a blood deficiency or a predisposition to anemia. So if you have blood deficiency, you're not necessarily anemic, right? But if a blood deficiency goes unchecked, you will become anemic. And that is you're going to have a hard time building follicles and eggs and lining if you don't have a healthy baseline blood. So you really need to have a healthy blood in order to build a viable follicle, a viable egg, and good lining, right? So making sure that we've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's in preparing for our cycle, and making sure that our blood is healthy. You do your blood work anyways. And it's always important to look at your blood levels and see how they are, and whether you're borderline. If your blood work looks great, but you're borderline, chances are during your menstruation you're dipping down. That's great, you're coming back up, but you're dipping down, and that's usually right on the edge. We can do better than that. And so, what are some of the signs of blood deficiency and anemia? Some of the more common signs of someone who's anemic or blood deficiency is bruising, right? And so we have these bruises, and they just show up, and you're just like, why am I getting bruised? What did I run into? Usually it's a really good sign that you might be a bit blood deficient, or even anemic. And fatigue, right? Fatigue, you're just exhausted because you don't have that base. You don't have that iron level. And you want to make sure that that's a strong base so that you're not so fatigued. Dizzy, right? We're dizzy because we're fatigued and we're not getting the iron. And of course, the last one, which is often overlooked, but it's important, is you're always cold, right? You're always cold. I'm cold. I'm bruising easily. I'm dizzy and fatigued. Boom, blood deficiency or anemia. And if you have a predisposition to it and you've been diagnosed with it in the past, you need to keep up on it. Okay. And some people have infusions, that's how what at that level you need to have infusions. And so, keep a lookout for the signs, keep a lookout for the symptoms. And, we need to make sure that you keep your blood levels in check. So treatment, we'll just kind of run through this real quick. Treatment, there's a couple ways to treat blood deficiency, right? The most common and easiest way to treat blood deficiency or anemia is with iron supplementation, right? Ideally, you're going to want to take a liquid iron supplement. The absorption rate is higher and it's just more tolerable. If you can't do that, then you're going to want to take an iron pill. Now, when I say iron supplementation, I mean once, maybe twice a week. Not much, just a little tiny bit, just to take us to the next level. You don't need it every day. I mean, depending on whether you're severely anemic or if it's just a blood deficiency, kind of determines on how your treatment goes. Like I said a moment ago, some people need infusions, blood infusions. I don't think we're there with most common blood deficiencies, but the best way to treat your blood deficiency or anemia. Let me just go back real quick. When taking iron or iron supplementation, be careful you don't get constipated. If your bowels start to get slow, ease up on your supplementation. Okay, we don't want you to get constipated. You're usually on meds to begin with that can cause constipation. And so if you're taking iron supplementation and your constipation really flares, back off the iron supplementation. And that's why I say once, maybe twice a week, not much. Moving forward, the best way to treat your anemia or blood deficiency is through it's through an inflammation reducing diet, right? So, most of our deficiencies, if they are not from menses, are from a malabsorption of the iron itself. So treating that inflammation is number one. It's key, right? Treating the root. We always go back to the root. The best way to do that is to eat carnivore. Eat a meat-based diet. Stay away from the plant-based diet. Stay away from the carbs. All of those are going to just add inflammation to the gut, which you don't need, especially if you have a gluten sensitivity, celiac disease. You've already gone through this and you're aware of what it can do to your iron levels. But base your diet in a meat-based diet. And what that does is it will shrink your inflammation and it will increase your absorption rate of nutrients in the body. High fat. All that's going to shrink up everything and allow you to absorb the iron and other vitamins you need. Which, I'm sorry, brings me back to another thing. When taking iron, make sure, if you're taking an iron supplementation, make sure you're taking vitamin D and vitamin Bs with it. Okay, you need those avenues, those other vitamins to help move the iron to where it needs to be into the cell. Taking iron by itself, with your diet might be okay, but you need to help it move through the body, and you do that with vitamin D and vitamin Bs. Okay, so high note. So inflammation, get it down there. Stick to a meat-based diet, and you're going to see huge benefits in your lining and in your menstrual. Some people that have a blood deficiency have very light periods, right? They don't have enough blood to spare, right? So building that blood up is going to help build your lining. Other people have blood deficiency or anemia because they have long periods, right? So it's got to be a perfect, which brings me to the treatment part of it, right? And so not only do you use supplementation and move into a meat-based diet, you can also use acupuncture, right? And acupuncture, what we do with acupuncture is we help the spleen, strengthen the spleen, which makes the blood, and we help the liver, strengthen the liver chi, which moves the blood. So if we've strengthened the production of it, and we're strengthening the ability to transport it, now we're moving it through the body a little bit better and a little easier. And so acupuncture is very simple, it's very easy, and it's very non-invasive, but it's very effective. And so what we need to do in doing that, we regulate your menstrual periods, right? We regulate your cycles, and so that we kind of bring everything into a harmony, and so that you're having a normal period, ideally. And what that's going to do is it's like a domino. It's just one thing leads to the next, and then you have a better lining, a better follicle, a better egg, a better outcome. You feel better. Your fertility is better. And that's the goal. Blood deficiency doesn't equal anemia, but it can if left untreated. So treating your blood, number one. Okay, and that's when you come in for acupuncture and Chinese medicine. That's the first thing we're looking at. We're looking at your tongue and your pulse to determine if you have blood deficiency. And blood deficiency is the easiest thing to treat. It just takes a little attention, and you get the best results from it. And so, keep that in mind. Lifestyle. Don't burn the candle at both ends, right? Don't spread yourself too thin. If you're really stressed out, you're not absorbing nutrients because now you have an ulcer, or now you have upset stomach. And so, tailor your lifestyle to being a little slower, a little less involved. Focus on, here comes winter, right? So winter is a great time to focus on building blood, right? It's time to go inside. We talked a little bit about this in the last Facebook Live. It's time to go inside. It's time to build core strength, build our root strength, right? Part of that root strength is blood health. What do you do in the winter? You eat lots of heavy fat foods. You eat lots of meats, heavy foods. Keeps you warm, keeps you strong. So this is the time of year when you really start to build your blood, right? And if you're family planning or going through a cycle, winter's a great time to do it. In the northern hemisphere, I could be stepping outside of my my knowledge here, but it's when most large mammals are getting pregnant, and we are a big mammal. And so getting pregnant now in the fall is, I think, energetically speaking, a little bit more conducive than, say, in the summer, unless you're a bird, and then you're getting pregnant in the spring, or a rabbit, which is awesome. There's lots of that too. But, there's something about the northern hemisphere in the fall and mating season. And so keep that in mind, build your nest, build your blood. Slow down. I'm not saying hibernate, but nest a little bit. Bring everything inside, bring everything close, bring everything inside of you as well. I hope this helps you guys a little bit more in your family planning and moving forward with any kind of a blood deficiency or anemia. And if there's anything I can do to help, set up a consultation, and I'd love to chat with you. Thank you.